All right. So we'll get started, folks. First of all, thank you all so much for joining in to the webinar. We'll be covering a lot of interesting topics today, and I hope all of you have something valuable to take back. I'll just quickly introduce the speakers for the session. So first of all, I'm Vasudha. I'm a part of the App Automate product team, and I've been at BrowserStack for the past 2 years. And I'll let Mihir introduce himself.
Hey, hi guys, everyone. Mihir here from BrowserStack. I lead the App Automate product team here. Uh, Glad to be here talking with the QA community. Yep.
Thanks, Mihir. Looking forward to the conversation with you. So, folks, I'll quickly go over what we're gonna cover today in the webinar. So, the in the agenda, basically, first we'll be going over the mobile testing landscape and see that how that currently looks and how the market looks today. And then we'll quickly cover what kind of challenges usually people face while doing mobile automation testing. And we're going to look at a couple of modern workflows or how mobile automation has changed and what is the current kind of workflows that exist. Um, and these workflows are being used by both enterprises as well as smaller and medium sized companies. And then we're gonna go through how AI is playing a role within app automation today. And we'll talk a little bit about how maybe BrowserStack is kind of venturing into the AI space as well in the automation side. And we'll close with a couple of best practices while we're doing any kind of automation testing on mobile environments. And then we'll have a around a 15 minutes Q&A segment towards the end. So that's what today's agenda looks like. Before we jump into the topic, just a couple of housekeeping items. So the session is going to be for 60 minutes, but the actual conversation between me and Mihir, it's going to run for around 35 minutes, maybe if it extends around 40 minutes. And post that, we're going to have around a good 15-20 minutes for Q&A towards the end so that we can answer all of your questions. Would request everyone to be on mute if you're not already, to just make sure that we don't have any interruptions. If you have any questions, please feel free to kind of drop that in the Q&A section within the webinar, or we'd cover the questions in Q&A section first, and then if there is, of course, any comments or questions in the chat, we'll look at that as well. But apologies, like we'll not be monitoring the chat throughout the session. So yeah, just like even if you've dropped something there, no worries. We'll take a look at it towards the end of the session. And the session is also being recorded, so it will be shared to all the to all the attendees post the session. So yeah, that's about the housekeeping items. So let's jump into the state of mobile automation today. So we have Mihir today, like he mentioned, from the App Automate team at BrowserStack. So would rely on him to kind of explain on how mobile automation today looks like and what are some of these key challenges that people usually face. Yeah, over to you,
Sure.
me.
Yeah, thank you, Vasudha. So mobile app automation. If we talk about if we look at the growth that mobile app industry has been seeing, right? Like it has been significant. Like web has shifted to app, right? And with that, we have seen increase in the number of scenarios that different features have, right? You have various integrations, you have biometrics, you have payments. These are more sort of modern use cases or scenarios that have come up with the evolution of modern mobile applications. You further have different sort of devices, form factors, etc., right? At the same time, with the app share increasing, you have higher and higher expectations around the performance of the mobile applications. You want seamless experience for your end users, right? And if we look back, I think 5 6 years ago, the release cycles used to be roughly once a month, twice a month, right? And now it has moved towards multiple times a week, right? That is how the rapid the release cycles are, right? So while this evolution continues and mobile app industry continues to grow, uh, there's a significant need to invest in automation. Teams have been doing it to sort of help them release faster, cover various user scenarios and all, right? But we continue to see that the environment is becoming more and more complex. The number of device or different device OS combinations, if you look, would be anywhere like around more than 100 or range close to 200 sort of. So it is leading to higher device fragmentation. There are various complex user journeys, sensors, networks, payments, etc. that we talked about, right? At the same time, we want to sort of scale automation, have your CI/CD integrated, right? And have continuous integration, continuous sort of releases done at a rapid pace to sort of match the quality of experience that you want to provide to end users. Because of which, the need of having stable sort of releases, faster release cycles, and scaled automation becomes sort of an important, right? And that is where a lot of challenges keep coming, right? Now, based on what we have been hearing from different customers or different users when we talk to them, be it from startups to sort of mature enterprise organizations, there are some common challenges that keep coming up, right? So starting from flakiness, you have flaky test, you have changes in locator, you have some async client server leading to sort of instabilities. You have longer feedback or longer sort of test results coming in. So running for 90 minutes, 150 minutes, right? So it takes up a lot of your hours. You have to run them nightly. And if you want to run them at every code commit, it's a longer sort of waiting cycle. It's a longer feedback cycle for you to release. uh, as you talked about the device fragmentation, you can only at like with handheld devices, etc. You are only able to cover few user scenarios, few form factors, etc. Right? So and there is a chance of missing out different issues because of changes in OEMs, changes in OS versions, latest OS versions, backward compatibility, etc. Right? And then there is this whole debugging overhead because of hundreds of pages coming in when actually there are genuinely a few, right? And with all of this being said, you want to sort of run test at scale. You have 1,000+ tests, and you want to sort of get feedback in a few minutes, in a sort of within a few hours, and you want to sort of scale your CI/CD to have that sort of parallelism, right? So these are the sort of key challenges that we keep hearing from the customers. And there's not even like AI is just one part of it, right? This things start coming in even without even back in the non-AI world, right? So for any sort of mobile app company to sort of succeed, they want to ensure that these challenges are sort of solved, and they have sort of a very uh, stable app getting released faster, working seamlessly for their end customers, right? This is what users have been aiming for.
Yeah, absolutely, Meher. Agree with the challenges that you spoke about. And I think even we've been around in BrowserStack and AI has been picking up traction pretty much since the last 2 years. But even before that, I remember us spending some time solving issues which are still along the same, like solving the same challenges basically, right?
Correct.
So totally agree with that. So folks, we are kind of segueing into like what modern workflows look like today in the app automation space. Before we jump into what that looks like, we have a quick poll for you folks wherein we want to understand what kind of challenges that you folks are facing today with respect to automation testing. We'll just wait probably around 30 seconds and we'll continue. But yeah, as and when we have the poll results later, we'll take a look at it. Yeah. All right, folks. So I hope you folks have voted. But just in the interest of time, we'll move on to the actual modern app testing requirements, right? So what basically, oh, we have the poll results. So seems like the biggest challenge that we have today is test flakiness, breaking due to locators or synchronization issues, or maybe some other kind of issues such as longer waits, or maybe the responses not come in time, so timeouts and stuff like that. But nice. This is a good number. and seems like fragmentation and performance are almost equally problematic after flakiness. Nice. That's really interesting insights. So we'll talk a little bit more about how these modern app testing requirements look like. So definitely flakiness, like we just saw, is a major problem. But there are a few other requirements that we see are most important, even when we see customers today. Some of the major things that they ask us is about actually running tests at scale. Like Mihir mentioned, that is one of the major and most important requirements that we have today, right? So, and how do you ensure that the tests that you're running are as exact, as close as they are to real user scenarios, right? That's the kind of insights you would get if you would run these tests on a real device, right? So that would be the first pointer, that first major requirement, which is that you should be able to run these your automation tests at scale and actually actually observe the real behavior that you see on use devices. Besides that, debugging and logs. So definitely, um, once you have once you have basically pinpointed where your tests are failing, for which devices they are failing, you would want to see some kind of a patterns or some kind of logs into why exactly that failed, so that you can go back and work on those tests, fix those tests to ensure that these issues are not occurring in the real world. So that would be the second major requirement. The third one, insight driven reporting. Like, let's say we have run it on 100 devices and now we know that 20 devices have failed, right? I am not, I may or may not always have all the time in the world to go and sit and look at every single of those tests. If there is any repeated errors that you're seeing on multiple devices, maybe the error is all on Samsung devices, maybe it's all on a particular OS, right? You would want such kind of insights that this is what's exactly causing these errors, and this is exactly breaking on so and so OS version, so and so devices and whatnot, right? And these kind of insight driven reporting would be really helpful in saving everyone's time today. And especially in this AI powered world, insights are easier to come by. Before this, it was a lot of data crunching. But yeah, this is definitely one major requirement that we see today. Besides that, we do look at secure environment. So there are cases where customers are very, like, place a very high importance on data security, as well as say storing data in specific geographical locations or anything as such, just in general data security and privacy. And they might even have some kind of a sensitive data such as a PII or something. So it's very important to have secure environments where you can do your testing. um, and one of the last ones, which is also quite important, is high parallelism. Again, like I mentioned, nobody has all the time in the world to do all kinds of analysis, all kinds of testing, right? So we want to, like, once we have a suit ready, we ideally want to speed up the execution time, your build time, and make it as fast as possible. And that, like, the easiest way to kind of do that is through by running tests in parallel, right? So high parallelism is one of these requirements. So these are the major test requirements that I see. We're gonna look at how these look like in BrowserStack today. And I'm gonna quickly go over those requirement, like how it looks in BrowserStack today, and probably Mihir will follow up with a couple of demos of how it actually looks today on the BrowserStack environment as well. So moving on to the next slide. With respect to real device coverage, how exactly is BrowserStack solving for it? We have around 30,000 plus Android and iOS real devices, which are kind of spread across all categories, all the device types, different OSs, as well as we also support not just phones or desktops, but we also support other device types such as tablets and smart TVs and whatnot. So this ensures that you actually have kind of like a single infra or a single playground where you can test your applications on every single device type, every single OS type, right? Whatever the fragmentation
Yeah.
that may be. But I'll hand it over to Mihir to kind of go ahead and go over the demos. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Vasudha, for covering the breadth of issues and the key challenges as well as the key use cases that we hear from different users, right? And the poll resonates a lot with the challenges that we have also been hearing, right? The poll from this audience, fragmentation, performance, flaky tests, etc., right? So we'll cover those, the problems and the solutions around those at different points in this discussion, right? But to start off with, right, I'll cover broadly fragmentation and performance. When we look at some data, and you can find this on Google statistics, etc., you will see if you want to cover your top 80% of users, they are scattered across like 7 OEMs: Apple, Samsung, Motorola, OnePlus, etc., right? And you will require to cover roughly 9 OS versions, right? If you want to cover 85% of your user base, each in Android and iOS, right? That basically means that you need to have a wider sort of set of devices, OEMs, OS versions covered, right? And what BrowserStack has been solving for is the advanced sort of full covered device grid of 200 plus devices, right? I'll quickly show a sample list that we have here, right? Like if you can basically look at sort of, there are 9 OS versions, there are multiple OEMs on Android, there are different device models, right? All in all, Android plus iOS, you have roughly 200 plus device OS combinations that you can test for, right? This basically helps you uncover real user issues that can occur in different form factors, OEMs or OS versions, right? At the same time, talking about slow performance we have seen because there are waiting times or because of unavailability of devices. You are testing from probably from US, but your device is located in Europe, right? So uh, use distance between your data centers, right? So again, on BrowserStack end, there are 30,000 plus Android and iOS real devices located across 19 device data centers globally to cover all major geographies so that you get a high performant and highly available sort of a device, right? So, and you can access any sort of new device OS versions on launch, right? So launch day itself, you will see them getting launched on day zero. So this is what BrowserStack has been solving for to ensure that users on the platform are able to cover the testing across all form factors, OEMs, OS versions, right? I'll quickly move to the other part. So we talked about different challenging scenarios that come up, be it payments, be it biometrics, be it SMS related, OTP related use cases, right? And in order to sort of test this, okay, you can test your basic interactions on emulators, right? But how do you test these real world scenarios? You can only simulate them on actual real devices. You need to sort of go through the end-to-end user workflow, being able to test biometrics, Apple Pay, SIM-based workflows, etc., right? So you have advanced use cases like accessibility testing, location simulation, different device settings, and all right. So media injection, all these are sort of advanced use cases which are very much applicable in all major industries, be it BFSI or KYC workflows, be it healthcare, be it e-commerce, B2C, etc., right? So these are the different use cases that we usually see users sort of trying their hands on in terms of automation testing on BrowserStack, right? Uh, is it really complex to test? That is one of the questions that keep coming. Is it, if I want to run these scenarios, how easy or difficult is it for me, right? And I'll show you by a quick example that just by enabling a few capabilities, like we'll take biometric here, right? You just need to enable a capability and you just need to fire a command whenever you want to sort of test that scenario, right? That is all is required to sort of execute these scenarios, right? This is what helps users cover end-to-end testing on actual user scenarios, situations that can happen, right? Not only that, if you have, let's say, advanced use cases, you have security related concerns and all, right? So uh, I want to do a KYC, I have a banking application, I want security, I want a dedicated device, I want a specific SIM number for testing, WhatsApp flows for OTPs, etc., right? You also have dedicated private devices that are parked for you, and full secure access that you can ensure and like have your test cases thoroughly done in a secure environment, in a dedicated environment for you, right? So that is what covers an ability to basically help test out all the user scenarios end to end. If I talk about the third piece, which is more sort of uh, being able to reach at the conclusion of what is really failing, right? You have thousands of errors coming in, right? Like how do you thousands of failures coming in? How do you sort of quickly debug them? How do you identify the most critical ones, segregate the P0s, P1s, have a unique set of errors, identify the genuine ones versus the flaky ones, right? All that is being done from the rich test reporting and analytics that comes with the BrowserStack App Automate offering, right? Maybe I'll go to a sample dashboard and we'll just see how it is being done today, right? So consider this as a sort of a sample build that I run right now. If I pick this one, right, I already have out of this 12, I already have some bifurcation done to help me understand, okay, what is the unique number of errors that I am seeing, how many of them have been flaky, historical, what are the trends here, what are the new failures that I need to debug, right? And if I want to sort of just deep dive into this, I want to sort of look at prioritize this. I have a filtered list that helps me to sort of just go and debug them and keep the noise aside, right? So that is what it. We have historically seen the debugging time for the QAs going down by 80 to like up to 80%, right? Because of this sort of a bifurcation, right? That is what comes with a sort of a rich reporting and analytics. Now, further, if we talk about uh, like what, okay, you are giving me the list of tests, list of failures that I need to prioritize, right? Like, but how do I go and do a deep dive within each of these failures, right? Like, how do I understand the behavior? So, deep diving into a test to RCA this better, uh, you basically need a bundle of logs and visual behavior to understand, right? So, which can be done on this reporting and analytics dashboard. We pick anything, let's say we pick this one. And once we go into this, you would have all sort of logs coming in. You would have APM logs, you would have device logs, you have visual you have screenshots, you have uh, visual aspects covered through the video, etc. So that you can look at the whole video, whole experience, and then just understand what is the actual behavior that's happening on the app, right? So we'll just quickly go through a sample short video. So these are a sample test session that has been run by the user, right? And if we jump towards a different point in time, right? I think this is a sample Wikipedia app where some testing is happening, right? And if we look at the different logs that is there, you have device logs, you have crash logs also. You further have performance metrics also, which help you understand where your app is lagging or in terms of the seamless experience that you want to target, right? So all this comes with the reporting and analytics tool on App Automate. Right. So I think this is pretty much what covers the key pieces of modern infrastructure, being able to sort of cover your testing across all form factors, devices, being able to cover the breadth of testing scenarios that you have, and then go quickly able to sort of identify the failures, debug them, and fix them so that you have faster releases, stable releases, right? So yeah, that is pretty much on the modern workflow side. Right. Yeah. Vasudha, what do you think? What do we do next?
Yeah, no, thank you first for the demo, Mihir, for all of the use cases that I just had covered and you spoke about in such detail. But we should definitely look into how AI is kind of changing this whole automation space, right? And
Mhm.
what does even BrowserStack has to offer in terms of AI, as well as in general, we can talk a little bit about how AI's influence has come into mobile automation testing space. So, folks, like we have a poll again for you to understand, how you folks, how you folks are first of all using AI, and like what are your primary concerns when you look at any AI powered testing tools. Just gonna wait for like 10 to 15 seconds for you folks to fill the poll, and then we can move. All right, folks. I hope you all have voted. Um, Pranav, could you help us see the results? Awesome. So data security seems to be the highest concern, and all the others are kind of lower comparatively. Skill gap seems to be the next concern post data security. Totally understandable the way that AI is kind of moving today and the kind of advancements that are happening every day. That's totally understandable. But yeah, data security definitely is a large concern. With that information, maybe we'll jump into, how AI would really help with mobile automation testing. And Mihir, I'm going to hand it over to you because you worked on a lot of AI related features on BrowserStack App Automate as well.
Sure, sure. Yeah, thanks for that, Vasudha.
Yeah.
So, no surprise, I think AI is the buzzword everywhere, right? And I think rather than going by the trend, the way we want to look at AI is how do you look at the core use cases, right? Like the jobs or the work that the QA community, the SDET community has been going through, right, in day-to-day testing. And how do you really apply it to get better results, right? How do you get effectiveness in terms of cost, in terms of stability, in terms of time savings, productivity, right? Those are the key metrics that we are focusing on here, right? And if we start looking at the overall automation testing, it starts from authoring to sort of execution and then debugging. Those are the three major phases, right? And we've tried to sort of have solutions or have those use cases covered with the right agents or right solutions. The idea is to sort of have overall a faster, a more stable test automation journey, leveraging the power of AI, right? And I resonate with some of the concerns also that have came during the polls, right? Security is a major concern. How do you trust if your data is being used or it's like it's really safe? The second is the black box nature. How would it work? What would be the cost of error? Right. So those two remain the key focus. And then how do I really adopt AI? I'm not really skilled or I'm not really ready to sort of reach that maturity. How do I go there? Right. And we'll talk about each of them at different point of time in while we go through this different solutions. But I start with the first one, right? Like all the solutions that we have, we'll be talking about. There's usually a sort of a user consent if they want to use a feature, right? And you have this control to sort of disable, enable. Without your consent, that feature will not start working, right? So you can always be assured that your data is safe. The data, whatever is being used, is only sort of lies with your system. It is used for sort of building that intelligence and that feedback loop, right? But without your consent, that AI tools would also be disabled, right? I'll move to the use cases, right? So there are different problems that has came to us by these users, and we start with the most impactful ones, right? So instead of going by the order of where they lie in the testing journey, we start with the most sought after or most impactful ones, right? So debugging has been called out the most painful or time taking activity for SDETs, right? So now what if AI couldn't help RCA your sort of failure and give you suggestions on basically fixing it, right? So test failure analysis agent on BrowserStack App Automate, it uses AI to get all sort of information, logs, historical data, historical failures, etc., and other contextual information to basically provide a root cause analysis and a very simple interpretation of what is the failure and what are the possible next steps here, right? We'll quickly go through the demo. I think rather than failure in it. I'm sorry. So rather than the demo, I feel a better way would be to sort of just look at the sample session live in action, right? So let us pick a sample session here. I think, okay, I have this one, right? So it's basically doing that crunching and we'll just wait for a seconds to have that data collected. I think I'll just jump to an exiting route. Okay, so we have a sample session here, which is basically showing there's a test that I run around navigating to a different page, and it has failed for a certain reason. Now, if I look at it, uh, yeah, this is basically calling out this as an environment issue, right? So it helps understand whether it's an environment issue, it's a product bug, it's a locator based failures, etc. And based on the feedback, it keeps on learning. and suggest what are the possible fixes that you can use to in your script to sort of, or whether it's a fix that you can do in your script or an environment related failure, etc. that can be applied, right? So this is a RCA being done. We can do the similar analysis for different tests that have failed, right? So that is the first agent or the most used agent we see on App Automate, right? If I move towards the next one, which it will be mostly around stability, right? Like how can you prevent test from failing unnecessarily? 75% of users on App Automate have complained about flaky issues. Locators have changed on the developer side, but SDETs are not aware. Testing, we don't know when we haven't changed our scripts, right? And it leads to a failure. Sign up change to sign in, or there are some changes in the layout, but the element is still there. How do I navigate across this? It leads to a lot of failures, unnecessary failures, which are not actually user facing errors, but are expected to work out well. So self-healing agent, it auto detects broken locators. It fixes them during execution. Overnight. It will basically identify, it would understand the context of what the previous layout was, what the current layout is, what the intent of the user is while trying to identify an element. And it will fix those, it will remediate them during execution. And it will also allow you a change, what can be the new selector, so that you not only have your current execution fixed, but also you can apply it in your scripts to have it forward fixed for future. It will quickly look at
80% of teams hit test failures from broken locators every single month. Here's what's happened. When a developer ships UI updates, whether it's UI enhancements, a new feature rollout, or code refactoring, your automated tests start breaking due to invalidated locators, even when the actual functionality works perfectly. The result? A flood of false negatives, turning your CI/CD pipeline red. Every broken locator costs your team over 15 minutes, hunting through logs, rewriting selectors, and creating a constant maintenance cycle that slows down every release and drives up hidden costs of your automation suite. Introducing BrowserStack's self-healing AI agent. With a single config change, it automatically identifies and remediates locator failures at runtime, significantly reducing test failures. Self-healing AI works with the most popular automation tools for both web and mobile, healing your tests wherever they run, on desktop browsers, mobile browsers, or native apps. Let's see this in action. Here is an e-commerce site for which we have created an automated test that logs in, selects products, adds them to cart, proceeds to checkout, and places the order. On this screen, on the left is the original site. On the right is the updated site. After a simple UI update, a critical locator to the quick select user field has changed as highlighted here. Simple changes like these are the root cause of most locator failures. Now, watch what happens when we trigger the test. Without self-healing, the test fails instantly, triggering a red build and sending your team straight into triage mode. The log confirms the break with the classic no such element exception. That's another at least 15 minutes lost, all spent debugging a test for a feature that was never actually broken. Next, let's run the same test again, this time with self-healing enabled. See how easy it is to enable the agent. And with that, the test passes successfully. The log shows you exactly what happened. Right here, the healed selector entry confirms the AI agent found the broken locator and used a new one, all in real time. The result, up to 40% fewer automation build failures and several hours reclaimed every single month. The self-healing AI agent is available across our test automation products. Locator healing is just the start for the agent. Our vision is to tackle the entire spectrum of unintended test failures. Imagine your tests intelligently navigating timing issues, adapting to dynamic content like pop-ups or A/B test variations, and handling other unexpected UI changes, increasing reliability without constant maintenance. Enable BrowserStack's self-healing AI agent today with a simple config change, and let your tests automatically adapt to UI changes.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, as it mentioned, right, we have just started with locator failures, right? And the idea is to cover all forms of failures, be it environment-based, be it timeouts, etc., and just sort of auto heal wherever applicable. And we have roughly seen 40% improvement in terms of the like reduction in failures when people have started using self-healing, right? Moving on. I'll give me a minute. Yeah. Moving on, we'll talk about the third use case, which is basically how can I write faster, right? Like I have an intent. How do I express it easily? I need to today, in order to do a simple interaction, I need to write multiple commands. I need to wait for a command, wait for an element to appear in APM. I need to sort of have a sort of a, like click on the interaction. I need to also find that element before I even interact with it, right? So there are find, wait, and interact, right? Like there are three steps in each of the interaction that is there. Right? How can you use natural language to simplify it? What if I can express my intent? Not only this, there are, as we talked about, there are like 200 plus device OS combinations. Android would have a different code. iOS might have a different code. There are native applications, there are hybrid applications, there are cross-platform applications. There are different form factors. In some cases, the UX, the button might be visible on the screen. In some cases, it might not be, right? So how can I handle such scenarios? Right. And what we are talking about is basically a natural language based script writing. So test authoring or cross device authoring is nothing but you just express it in simple plain language, and browser stack will translate it to the right set of commands relevant to that form factor, identify the element, do the interaction, and reduce all sort of boilerplate coding. Right. We'll quickly see a sample test that we had run. Okay, so as you can see here, we are doing a sort of a interaction on the sample Wikipedia app where we had done multiple interactions, but through plain English, right? The commands that were written as click on the skip button, click on the search, type browser stack, and validate if the search results are present, right? So we'll jump towards that, right? I think so. If you take a look at it, this is basically translating on its own, right? It is doing those interactions. It is, if I jump forward, it is doing all form of interactions on its own. This is not written in Java or PyTest or like it is still using the language of Java. It's not done using native commands. The simple English commands that are being shared, right? So even the assertion is what we are doing via a natural language, right? And this is how it's working, right? So it is able to sort of do interactions, find the elements, and have the assertions done in natural language, right? And this works seamlessly across Android and iOS. You just need to write once and run it anywhere, right? So that is what the key value or solution provided by cross-device authoring agent. The final agent is more on in terms of getting faster feedback. We want to move in around getting faster releases. We want to save developer time, etc. Right? So overall, the focus is on build optimization. How can you release faster? How can you reduce unnecessary debugging? How can you save your infra cost by running only the ones that matter? Right? So think of a scenario, you have done a minor change in your code, and instead of running 10,000 tests, I just want to run the tests that are really impacted by one or two line changes of the code, right? Like in the right module, in the right set of page, etc. Right? So build optimization done by smart test selection and orchestration. It basically uses AI as well as simple rule-based capabilities to just run relevant tests, right? Either run relevant tests, remove all the unnecessary tests, or in some cases also prioritize certain tests which are more likely to fail, right? And provide you a faster feedback. So while there are multiple capabilities, this is a sample build that you can see. There are multiple capabilities available, AI-based test selection. You can run only the failed ones or the newly added ones. You can have a fail fast configuration where you want to save infra costs by just placing some thresholds of error, right? So that you don't want to run unnecessary non-hygienic test route and first fix them and then rerun. Those are the use cases that you have. All these capabilities are provided in the overall build optimization, which aims at sort of having faster releases and reduced cost. We'll see a sample session again here. So as I look at the actual test that was run here, you can see it was run for only 2 minutes. And now this original build was roughly around 20 minutes. The build savings that we are looking at based on AI-based smart test selection is 18 minutes, right? So out of 20, you only have run it in like 10% of your time, right? And what is the number of tests that were dropped? 40% of your tests were found irrelevant and they were dropped, right? So it's saving you a whole bunch of time. You are being able to release it faster, save your infra costs. And yeah, get save end of the day, it's saving a lot of your estate sort of productivity because you don't end up debugging something that is irrelevant, right? And have a faster feedback, right? So this is the whole sort of agents covering your sort of how to write tests easily, save your time there, how to ship, how to get faster feedback, how to run it stably, and as well as have faster results around debugging, right? So savings of time and cost is all that matters in terms of solving the AI use cases, right? The final thought that I want to really live with, right? AI is okay. AI is the trend, right? But we need not forget the core pieces, right? The best practice that we usually found organizations adopt and succeed at mobile app testing is starting on early, like real devices, early testing, right? Because emulators are always limited by the number of scenarios that you can test out, right? And the actual representation of OEMs OS versions comes out in the real devices. You need to parallelize testing for getting faster feedback. There is always an urgency to sort of release faster and stably, and you can only do when you have parallel testing done at like different devices being tested parallelly instead of running in sequence. AI needs to be adopted as per your use cases. It's not like go all in one with the solution. Look at your core KPIs metrics. Is it flakiness? Is it your time to debugging? Is it your infra cost savings? And then based on the where the challenge is, you start adopting AI gradually, right? And overall, the testing suite needs to be integrated with a CI/CD so that it can run seamlessly and have a faster release cycle, right? Like it needs to be automated. You can't scale by running locally. You need to have CI/CD sooner or later, right? And which is what App Automate also supports, be it Jenkins, be it any other CI/CD that you can integrate with, right? So that brings me to the sort of towards the end of what we wanted to really cover on the modern testing app workflows as well as AI in automation, like app automation testing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mihir, for all the insights into AI and how really BrowserStack is solving with AI-driven solutions, right?